Hello, this is Pamela, the Divorce Mystic. I'm an over 25-year intuitive attorney, mediator, and coach who's integrated a spiritual practice into my business. And for our time together today, I'm going to be answering the question, what is the greatest gift that we can give our children during the divorce process? Although that question is asked by many people during the divorce process, and there are many answers to it. I believe that there's one answer that reigns over all of them. When parents consider during the marriage what was their parenting style, they usually can remember teaching their children virtues. What are those? How to be compassionate, how to show love, how to be patient, how to turn the other cheek when somebody is bringing forth tension rather than adding to the negativity. And those children who show those virtues are usually greeted with not just praise, but true adoration from the adults in their lives. And over time, it becomes the norm. That is what's expected of you. And they know that when they do that, they're going to get loved and rewarded. And if they do the opposite, they're going to get punishment of some sort. Even if it's just a recognition of, hey, that's not what we do. And that's not how we operate in the world, particularly under this roof. During a divorce process, however, parents forget their parenting style and they allow fear and anger to rule the roost. So what was once showing kindness and love and compassion as much as possible in the household now is in opposite. Where there was compassion, there's no compassion. Where there was tolerance, there's no tolerance. Where there was love, there's no love. There may not be to a level of using the words hate or a word such as hate, but the energy is very negative as opposed to what these parents normally teach their children to do in a time of adversity. They forget that their children have a front row seat and that just like watching a movie, they're looking at something that is in complete opposite to what they were taught as to how they're expected to operate in the world. Becomes not just confusing, but after time, this conflict that they're trying to deal with, usually very silently, because they're not willing during a time like that when their parents are fighting. They're certainly not willing to say, hey, I don't understand what's going on. Can you explain it to me? They internalize the conflict and it becomes ingrained in their psyche. Many of these children don't just experience a shaky foundation during their parents' divorce process, but they also, as adults, experience shaky foundations in their relationships because they have not been able to properly find the right healing and understanding and process of what happened to them during the divorce process. So it's key to remember what is the cornerstone of your parenting style. What was important to you and your spouse to teach or train your children as to how they are to operate in the world, and you felt it to be important enough that you gave reward and then sometimes, like I said, punishment. Light punishment, it doesn't matter what it was in some way very clear to your children that when they did this, they got rewarded, and when they did this, they did not. And now all of a sudden there's a family in transition and there's a different approach. And the children are dealing with that in a way that parents don't really understand. You can talk about conscious parenting. Those parents during a divorce process are not thinking logically. They're thinking through fear, and that is what rules the roost. And they try very hard, innocently. They try very, very hard to say to the children that it's not your fault, mommy and daddy still love you, and it's certainly not their fault. And of course, mommy and daddy still love them. But in their little worlds, their world is falling apart. They're seeing their anchor, their two anchors being lifted. Their foundation has become very shaky. They're afraid to say anything, right? Because you're still their parents and they're afraid to say anything or to question your behavior. You don't necessarily question the adults in your life during a situation like that, particularly when there's anger, because you don't know what you will receive in return. So being conscious of that, understanding that if you can agree to make your parenting style whatever it was, whatever the cornerstone of your parenting style was during the marriage, if you can agree to uphold that throughout the divorce process and after, your children will not only come through the divorce with ease and understanding. They may not understand it from an adult's perspective, but when their two parents remain anchors, when their two parents can exercise and show and embody those virtues that were taught to these children during the marriage, in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of a family transition, things that are uncomfortable, a situation that's uncomfortable, this is how you behave. This is what you do. We're going to show you this is what you do. We're going to show you how to show love amidst a crisis, how to be compassionate, how to be tolerant, how to be a family unit that is in transition and that doesn't have to go into a complete breakdown to rebuild. That is a shift. It's a pivot. And when these children see their parents acting in that way, keeping the cornerstone of their parenting style strong, remaining two anchors for their children, having positive discussions in the household. If you need to scream, go somewhere else and scream. You can scream it out. But nevertheless, the children are a part of the process. I have used this phrase, and some people get it and some people don't. Well, what I say is a family that, with children, a family that divorces together remains a family. It doesn't mean that the children are going to be involved in every issue or every decision, but they're going to see their parents just kind of moving and pivoting and slowly shifting into what it will look like as a co-parenting existence with these children once the divorce is final. They're not having to be in the ring of fire or taking a front row seat and watching a complete breakdown. So if you think about it, what is the best gift that you could give your children? That, to me, reigns at the top. To show them love and role model for them that showing love amidst the most horrible circumstance or what somebody might perceive as the worst experience of their life, that is not only teaching them that love is the answer and the right choice no matter what, it also is going to help them get through the process. And as they grow up and experience adult relationships themselves, they are going to exhibit or remember what they've learned. And by then they will have embodied that behavior and those virtues as well, and will also teach it to their children and so on. Knowing that we are in an age of awakening, there is going to be a lot of couples divorcing. There's going to be a lot of shifting of relationships. It's really important to make sure that the children in your life come through that process strong and solid as much as possible. There's many ways of receiving help for your children, be it counseling or other forms of support. But the most important support is the role modeling that they're receiving from the two parents that will continue to be their parents just in a different way, and to really understand that the family is still a family. It's just in transition, and showing them how to make that transition smooth is going to make the process smoother for you, smoother for your spouse, smoother for your co-parenting relationship, and will certainly help you reach enduring settlement agreements that will include a parenting plan for your children. It will certainly make those steps in that process a lot easier if you're working from the basis of love and what's in the best interest of your children is that, and moving forward. That is going to be the number one thing. Looking back after the dust is settled, the divorce order is entered, and you're operating your daily lives in accordance with a parenting plan, you're going to look back and you're going to thank yourself for taking the time and making the commitment to be there consciously for your children during the divorce, and doing it in a way that's unexpected. It's out of the norm, but it does set the stage that you become the role model for the people who come behind you. And that's what we need. If we're going to shift the perspective of divorce and ease the way for families in the future to make a solid and an easy transition, knowing that there's going to be upset in many relationships. We all need to do this together. So finally, that question, the answer is show love, be love, give love. You've got this. Until we meet again, my friend, namaste.